Dear students, welcome to the session 16 number of 2nd BA Optional English, Semester 3 of Mangalore University. I am Sumana Rajendra, Associate Professor of English, Purna Prajna College, Udupi. In today's session, I will be dealing with the topic novel as a genre of writing. Let us first learn the origin of the term novel. The term novel originally meant a fresh story, but as time went on, it gradually came to signify a story in prose. It is more formally defined as a long narrative in prose dealing with the actions of fictitious people. Now, the germ of the novel lay in the medieval romance. It is a fantastic tale of love and adventure. In 1350, Boccaccio wrote a world-famous collection of love stories in prose called Decameron. Such short stories are called novella in Italian. Now let us draw our attention to the structure of a novel. First of all, a novel has a plot. Characters reveal themselves and their intentions through dialogue. A novel has no rigid framework. It has three parts: exposition, crisis, and denouement, which can be in any order. Now, what is exposition? Exposition is nothing but the description and explanation of an idea. When we come to the middle of the novel, there arises the crisis. The crisis is a time of intense difficulty or danger. Finally, we have that part of the novel which is called the denouement, which comes at the end of the novel, that is the final part of a novel, where the narrative in which the strands of the plot are drawn together and matters are resolved. Every novel has a setting. In other words, it has a background. Now, the setting can be at any part of the world and at any time. Now we learn the novel and its purpose. A novel is sure to reveal the author's own view of life and the problems that come through it, though this may be quite unintentional. In bygone days, the author interrupted the story from time to time and appeared in his own person to point the moral of the situation and justify the conduct of his characters who appeared in the novel. As time passed, this trend changed. In modern fiction, authors do not follow the example of the older writers. Any lesson a novelist wishes to teach has a widespread popular influence on the readers. Now, before we understand what a novel really is, let's go on to learning the brief history of the novel, or in other words, let us see the evolution of the form of novel as a literary genre. Still, in other words, let us see the beginnings. Several of the Elizabethans wrote prose works of fiction in a form related to that of the novel. The following works are noteworthy to mention: John Lyly's Didactic Euphues, The Anatomy of Wit, Robert Greene's Pandosta, Sir Philip Sidney's Arcadia, Thomas Nash's The Unfortunate Traveller, John Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, and Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels that appeared in 1726. Let's turn our attention to the change in novels that came in the 18th century. Samuel Richardson's novel Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, was remarkable in the exposition of human feelings and motives. The 18th century, firmly established by Richardson, was further developed by Henry Fielding, Tobias Smollett, and Lawrence Sterne. Sterne's Tristram Shandy, even though it has no plot, expresses the author's own whims, humor, and opinions. Then came Oliver Goldsmith's Vicar of Wakefield, that became a model for a whole clan of domestic fiction. We now move on to talking about the 19th century novelists. The 19th century novelists saw a mark in different dimensions. For instance, we have Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey, that paved the way for detailed studies of respectable English country society. Followed by her came Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre and Charlotte Bronte's sister, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, that presented terror and human story of passion without absolutely any trace of absurdity. It was followed by Sir Walter Scott, who introduced the historical novel with all the picturesque details and romantic feeling proper to the bygone age in which it was laid. We turn our attention to one of the most important writers of this period, Charles Dickens. Dickens was famous for representing the tendencies, manners, vices, and virtues of his age. For the first time, he introduced the poor and the oppressed. In his novel, Oliver Twist, he abuses the workhouse system and the poor law. It can be said that Dickens was the pioneer of realism and humanitarianism. Dickens exposed the various evils of industrial revolution. Almost all his novels are filled with humor and pathos. Then came Thackeray's Vanity Fair, that moralizes the follies of society. Thackeray's popular novels are Adam Bede, The Mill on the Floss, and Silas Marner. George Eliot widened the scope of the novel by including topics such as religion, politics, and social convention. Then comes the name of another famous novelist, almost on the line of Charles Dickens, that is Thomas Hardy, who comments on human life and destiny as somber and disillusioned. Hardy's notable works are The Return of the Native, The Mayor of Casterbridge, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and Jude the Obscure. Henry James and Jane Austen are the late Victorian novelists. Now let us talk about the present time and the changes that have occurred. The two world wars brought about a change in social conditions that accelerated the development of the novel. H.G. Wells, John Galsworthy, Arnold Bennett, Joseph Conrad used traditional methods. Close on their heels are Aldous Huxley, D.H. Lawrence, Virginia Woolf, and James Joyce, who introduced the deliberate and conscious innovations. In other words, their style is also called stream of consciousness. The last 50 years has widened the scope of the novel. E.M. Forster, Somerset Maugham, J.B. Priestley, and Hugh Walpole are excellent storytellers. Session 16 comes to an end. Let's wind up now. I will continue this topic in the next session, that is session 17. Thank you very much.